Captain Jake Morrison stood in the massive chamber, his boots clicking against the cold metal floor. The room was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. Strange lights floated in the air around him, casting purple and blue shadows on the walls. 12 tall chairs formed a circle above him, and in each chair sat an alien being that looked nothing like a human. Jake tried to keep his face calm, but his heart was beating fast. He had been in many battles before, fought against pirates and rebels across the galaxy, but this felt different. This felt like the end of everything. The tallest alien spoke first. It had 4 arms and skin that looked like silver metal. Its voice came out in perfect English, but there was no warmth in it at all. "Captain Morrison of the human species," it said, "you stand before the Galactic Council as a representative of your entire race. We have made our decision." Jake looked up at the creature. Behind him, he could hear other humans breathing quietly in the viewing area. Dr. Lisa Carter was there, along with other Earth diplomats who had tried so hard to prevent this moment. They had talked and argued with the aliens for months, but it had not worked. Another alien stood up. This one looked like a giant bird with blue feathers and 3 eyes. "The evidence against humanity is clear," it said. "Your species has shown nothing but violence since joining our galactic community. You have started wars, refused to follow our laws, and threatened peaceful worlds." Jake wanted to shout that it was not true. Yes, humans had fought some battles, but they had also protected innocent people and stopped real criminals. The aliens only seemed to remember the fighting, not the good things humans had done. A third alien spoke. This one was shorter than the others, with green skin and no visible mouth. Its words seemed to come from the air itself. "The incident at Kepler Station was the final proof we needed. 300 civilian aliens died because of human aggression. Your military commander refused to surrender when we asked him to stop fighting." Jake remembered that day well. Commander Alex Turner had been protecting a group of human families from alien pirates. The Galactic Council had ordered him to stop fighting and let the pirates take the humans as slaves. Turner had refused, and in the battle that followed, a space station had been damaged. The aliens had died when the station lost air, but it was the pirates' fault, not the humans. The silver alien stood up again. "Therefore, the Galactic Council has voted. The decision is final and cannot be changed. Humanity is hereby exiled from galactic society." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. Around him, the other humans gasped, and some began to cry quietly. "All human colonies outside your home solar system must be abandoned within 1 year," the bird-like alien continued. "Your jump gates will be sealed forever. Any human ship that tries to leave the Sol system will be destroyed immediately." Dr. Carter stood up in the viewing area. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice was strong and clear. "This is wrong," she said. "You are punishing an entire species for the actions of a few. We have families, children, entire cities on those colony worlds. Where will they go?" The green alien turned toward her. "That is not our concern. Your species should have thought about consequences before choosing violence over peace." Jake felt anger building in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. Getting angry now would only prove what the aliens thought about humans. "May I speak?" he asked. The silver alien nodded once. Jake looked around the chamber, meeting the strange eyes of each council member. "You call us violent, but we have never started a war without reason. Every time humans have fought, it was to protect someone weaker or to defend ourselves. The pirates at Kepler Station were enslaving people. Should we have just watched and done nothing? You should have followed proper procedures," the bird alien said. "Violence is never the answer in a civilized society." "And what about when your procedures don't work?" Jake asked. "What about when bureaucrats take months to make decisions while innocent people suffer? Humans act quickly because sometimes quick action saves lives." The aliens looked at each other, but their expressions did not change. "Your species is too unpredictable," the silver one said finally. "You do not think before you act. You let emotions control your decisions. This makes you dangerous to every other species in the galaxy." Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke again, his voice steady and strong. "You're right," he said. "We are emotional. We are quick to act. We don't always think things through completely. But you know what else we are? We're loyal. When someone asks for our help, we give it. When someone threatens our friends, we stand up to them. When we make a promise, we keep it." He paused and looked directly at the silver alien. "Can you say the same? When the Altarian rebels were killing civilians, where was the council? When the Zephyr Empire was enslaving entire worlds, who stopped them? It was humans. It was our ships and our soldiers who died to protect people who weren't even our own species. The chamber was completely silent now, but that doesn't matter, does it? Jake continued. You've made up your minds. You've decided that we're too dangerous to be trusted. Fine, but don't pretend this is about justice or peace. This is about fear. You're afraid of us because we won't bow down and follow your rules without question. The green alien's voice filled the air again. The decision is final. You have 1 year, Jake nodded slowly. 1 year, understood. As he turned to leave, he heard Dr. Carter calling his name. She was pushing through the crowd of diplomats, tears in her eyes. Jake, what do we do now? She asked quietly. He put a hand on her shoulder. We go home, Lisa. We tell our people what happened here, and then we figure out what comes next. Outside the council chamber, Jake walked to a large window that looked out into space. Hundreds of alien ships surrounded the station, their weapons pointed toward the small human fleet that had brought the diplomatic mission. In the distance, he could see Earth's blue and white surface shining like a jewel against the black of space. His communication device buzzed. It was a message from Commander Turner, who was waiting with the defense fleet near Jupiter. How bad is it? Turner's voice asked. As bad as it gets, Jake replied. They want us gone, Alex, all of us. 1 year to abandon every colony we've built outside the system. There was a long pause before Turner responded. What are your orders, Captain? Jake looked out at the alien ships again. They were already moving into position to block the jump gates that connected human space to the rest of the galaxy. Soon Earth would be cut off completely, alone among the stars, just like in the old days before humans had learned to travel faster than light. Tell the President to prepare for a long winter, Jake said finally. And Alex? Start working on something called Operation Homecoming. I have a feeling we're going to need it. Homecoming? Turner asked. What's that supposed to mean? Jake smiled, though there was no humor in it. It means they want us to go home, but they might not like what we become while we're there. As Jake watched, the last human ship disappeared through a jump gate that would soon be sealed forever. Earth was alone again, but somehow Jake didn't think that would be the end of the story. Humans had been alone before, and they had still reached for the stars. Maybe it was time to reach a little harder. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council had sealed Earth away from the rest of the galaxy. The jump gates that once connected human space to thousands of alien worlds now sat dark and empty. Massive alien ships still patrolled the edge of the solar system, watching and waiting for any human vessel that might try to escape. Dr. Lisa Carter stood in her laboratory deep beneath the mountains of Colorado. Around her, dozens of human scientists worked day and night on projects that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Tables were covered with pieces of alien technology that had been left behind when the non-human species evacuated Earth's colonies. Show me the results again, Lisa said to her assistant, Dr. Kevin Brooks. Kevin pulled up a holographic display that showed complex patterns of light and energy. We've cracked another one, he said with excitement in his voice. The Zephyrian power cells. It took their scientists 300 years to develop this technology. We figured it out in 4 months. Lisa nodded but did not smile. Every breakthrough felt good, but it also reminded her how much they still needed to learn. The aliens had thousands of years of advanced technology, while humans were just getting started. What about the weapon systems? She asked. That's the strange part, Kevin replied. Their weapons are actually less efficient than ours in some ways. They rely too much on automated systems. A human pilot could probably outfight an alien ship of the same size. Lisa thought about this. It made sense in a way. The aliens had been peaceful for so long that they had forgotten how to really fight. Humans, on the other hand, had been fighting each other for thousands of years before reaching the stars. Across the solar system on Mars, Commander Alex Turner walked through the construction bays where Earth's new fleet was being built. The ships looked different from anything humans had made before. They were sleeker and more advanced, but they still had something that alien ships lacked. They looked angry. How many do we have ready? Alex asked his chief engineer, Captain Sam Rodriguez. 12 so far, Sam replied. But these aren't like the old ships, Commander. They're faster, tougher, and they can do things that would kill an alien crew. Alex raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Sam led him to the newest ship in the bay. It was painted black with red stripes, and its hull was covered in armor that seemed to absorb light. We designed them for humans specifically. The acceleration forces, the sharp turns, the combat maneuvers. An alien would pass out or die from the stress, but a human can handle it. Interesting, Alex said. What else? The weapons don't have safety limiters, Sam continued. Alien ships prevent their crews from firing at maximum power because it might damage their own systems. Our ships let the pilot decide how much risk to take. If a human wants to overload the weapons and maybe blow up his own ship, the computer will let him do it. Alex nodded approvingly. That sounded very human. Meanwhile, on Saturn's moon titan, engineer Pete Walker was digging through ice and rock in search of something much older than the current galactic civilization. His team had discovered ruins buried deep beneath the surface, ruins that the aliens had either ignored or never noticed. Bring more lights over here, Pete called to his crew. They were working in a cavern that stretched further than their equipment could measure. The walls were covered in symbols that looked nothing like any known alien language. Dr. Emma Thompson, the team's archaeologist, knelt beside a section of wall that seemed to glow with its own light. Pete, you need to see this, she said. Pete came over and looked at what she had found. It was some kind of control panel, but the technology was unlike anything he had ever seen. When Emma touched it, the symbols began to change and move. It's responding to us, she whispered. But that's impossible. This technology is thousands of years old. Pete studied the symbols more carefully. Some of them almost looked like human writing, but that made no sense. Humans had only been in space for a few hundred years. Emma, he said slowly, what if we're not the first species the Council has exiled? She looked up at him with wide eyes. You think other races found this place before us? Maybe, Pete said. Or maybe whoever built this place knew that someday, someone like us would need to find it. Back on Earth, President Maria Rodriguez sat in her office reading reports from across the solar system. Every day brought new discoveries, new breakthroughs, and new questions. The alien blockade was supposed to weaken humanity, but instead it seemed to be making them stronger. Her advisor, General Robert Hayes, entered the room with a folder full of classified documents. Madam President, he said, we've intercepted some interesting communications from the alien patrol fleets. Maria looked up from her desk. What kind of communications? Complaints, Robert said with a slight smile. Apparently, several alien species are questioning the Council's decision to exile us. The Altarians have been especially vocal about it. The Altarians were always friendly to humans, Maria said. What are they saying? Robert opened the folder and read from a transcript. Their ambassador sent a message to the Council, saying that exiling humanity was, quote, the stupidest decision in galactic history, unquote. He also said that humans were the only species brave enough to stand up to pirates and criminals. Maria felt a spark of hope. Who else is supporting us? The Centauri Republic, the Free Worlds Alliance, and surprisingly, even some members of the Zephyrian Empire, Robert replied. It seems like not everyone agreed with the Council's vote. This was useful information. If humanity ever made it back to galactic space, they would need allies. Captain Jake Morrison was thinking about allies too, as he piloted his ship through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. His mission was supposed to be secret, but he suspected the alien patrols knew what he was doing. They just did not care enough to stop him. He was visiting the abandoned human outposts, gathering supplies and information before the alien salvage crews could claim everything. Most of the bases had been evacuated quickly, leaving behind useful equipment and valuable intelligence. Captain, his communications officer, Lieutenant Nancy Chen, called from her station. I'm picking up a transmission from the Kepler station area. Jake frowned. Kepler station had been destroyed 6 months ago during the battle that led to humanity's exile. There should not be anyone there. Put it through, he said. A weak signal filled the bridge, mostly static but with a human voice underneath. This is Sergeant Mike Davis of the Colonial Marines, the voice said. If anyone can hear this, we're alive on Kepler 7. The aliens told everyone we were dead, but 12 of us survived. We've been hiding in the old mining tunnels. Please, if humanity is still out there, we need extraction. Jake's heart raced. 12 humans were still alive in alien space, and the Council had lied about their deaths. Nancy, can you trace that signal? He asked. Already working on it, sir, she replied. It's definitely coming from the Kepler system, but that's 3 jump gates away. The aliens have sealed all the routes. Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he made a decision that would change everything. Set course for Earth, he said. Maximum speed, sir. Nancy asked, confused. We're going home, Jake said. It's time to tell President Rodriguez that Operation Homecoming just became a rescue mission. As his ship raced toward Earth, Jake thought about the 12 humans trapped in alien space. The Galactic Council had left them to die and then lied about it. They probably thought no one would ever find out the truth. They were wrong. And soon, Jake thought with grim satisfaction, they would learn that lying to humans was a very dangerous mistake. Humans had long memories and they did not forgive easily. The exile was supposed to be humanity's punishment. Instead, it was becoming their preparation for something much bigger. Operation Homecoming began at exactly midnight Earth time. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of humanity's newest warship, the Earth's Fury, as it tore through space faster than any human vessel had ever traveled before. Around him, his bridge crew worked with calm efficiency, their faces lit by the glow of displays showing impossible readings. "Jump gate breach in 30 seconds, announced Lieutenant Nancy Chen from her position at the navigation station. Jake nodded. They were about to do something that the Galactic Council thought was impossible. The jump gates leading out of human space had been sealed for 8 months, their alien technology locked against any human ship. But Dr. Lisa Carter's research team had found a way around the problem. "Lisa, are you ready?" Jake spoke into his communicator. From the ship's engineering section, Dr. Carter's voice came back steady and confident. "The quantum resonance pattern is holding. We're using the same frequency that the ancient builders programmed into the Titan ruins. If I'm right, the gates will think we're one of the original constructor species." "And if you're wrong?" Jake asked. "Then we'll probably be turned into particles," Lisa replied cheerfully. "But let's think positive thoughts." The ship hit the sealed jump gate at full speed. For a moment, Jake expected to see his ship torn apart by alien defense systems. Instead, the gate opened like a flower blooming in reverse, and the Earth's Fury shot through into the galaxy beyond. "We're through," Nancy announced, unable to keep the excitement out of her voice. "All systems normal. The Kepler system is 2 hours away at current speed." Jake smiled. Humanity was back among the stars, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. 3 hours later, Jake stood in the cargo bay of his ship watching as 12 dirty, thin humans climbed aboard. Sergeant Mike Davis was the first one up the ramp, and Jake was surprised to see that the man was smiling. "Sergeant," Jake said, shaking the Marine's hand, "we thought you were all dead." "So did the aliens," Mike replied. "That's what kept us alive. They stopped looking for us after the first month. We've been living in the old mining tunnels, surviving on emergency rations and recycled water." "What happened during the battle?" Jake asked as they walked toward the ship's medical bay. Mike's expression grew serious. "Commander Turner was right to fight. The pirates weren't just trying to capture civilians. They were selling humans to something called the harvest markets. We found shipping manifests in their computers before we destroyed them." Jake felt a cold anger building in his chest. The harvest markets were illegal slave trading operations that dealt in species from primitive worlds. The Galactic Council knew about them but claimed they could not be stopped. "The Council knew?" Jake asked. "They had to know," Mike said. "Some of their own security forces were working with the pirates. When Commander Turner refused to surrender, it wasn't just about following orders. If we had given up, those 300 families would have disappeared forever." As the Earth's Fury jumped back toward human space, Jake sent a coded message to Commander Alex Turner on Mars. The message contained everything Sergeant Davis had told him, plus recordings from the pirate computers that proved the Galactic Council's lies. 2 days later, Alex received Jake's message while standing in the command center of humanity's secret military base on Phobos, one of Mars's moons. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of human ships throughout the solar system. What had started as a single rescue mission was about to become something much larger. "How many ships do we have ready?" Alex asked his operations officer, Colonel Patricia Wright. 43 of the new class vessels," Patricia replied, "plus about 200 older ships that we've upgraded with the new technology. It's not a huge fleet, but each of our ships can probably handle 3 or 4 alien vessels." Alex nodded. The new human ships were built for war in a way that alien vessels were not. While the aliens relied on shields and defensive systems, human ships were designed to take damage and keep fighting. More importantly, they were designed to be operated by humans who could think and adapt faster than any alien computer system. "What's our target priority?" he asked. Patricia activated another display showing star maps of the nearby galaxy. Red markers indicated alien military bases, while blue markers showed human colonies that had been abandoned during the exile. Kepler system first, to secure the area around our rescue operation, she said. Then Alteris Prime. The Altarians have been sending us secret messages asking for military support against Council forces. The Altarians want our help? Alex asked, surprised. Apparently, the Council decided that any species that supported humanity should also be punished, Patricia explained. 3 Altarian worlds are under blockade and their government is asking us to break it. Alex smiled grimly. The Galactic Council was making the same mistake that bullies throughout history had made. They thought that fear would keep everyone in line. But instead, they were creating more enemies. On Earth, President Maria Rodriguez addressed the world's population from the same podium where she had announced humanity's exile 8 months earlier. But this time her message was very different. My fellow humans, she began, today marks the beginning of a new chapter in our species' history. For 8 months, we have been cut off from the galaxy that we helped to protect and defend. We were told we were too violent, too dangerous, too unpredictable to remain part of galactic civilization. She paused and looked directly into the camera. Today we proved them right about one thing. We are unpredictable. Because while they expected us to stay quietly in our corner of space, we have instead chosen to return to the galaxy as liberators, not conquerors. The president activated a holographic display that showed the positions of human fleets throughout nearby space. Operation Homecoming is not just about bringing our people home. It is about bringing freedom to every species that has been silenced by the Council's tyranny. As Maria spoke, Dr. Lisa Carter was broadcasting on every frequency used by galactic civilization. Her message was being heard on thousands of worlds, by billions of alien beings who had never questioned their government's version of events. Citizens of the galaxy, Lisa's voice echoed across space. Your leaders have lied to you. The technology we discovered in the ruins on Saturn's moon Titan has revealed the truth about your galactic council. She activated recordings that showed ancient archives from the buried civilization. The holographic images displayed the Council's secret history, including records of 6 previous species that had been exiled and destroyed over the past 10,000 years. Humanity is not the first species to be called too violent by the Council, Lisa continued. We are simply the latest in a long line of civilizations that refuse to bow down to their authority. The Makari, the Voss, the hegemony of Trill, all of them were exiled and then quietly eliminated when they tried to return to galactic space. The revelation sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, populations that had trusted their leaders for centuries began to demand answers. Some alien governments immediately tried to block the transmission. But Lisa's message was being broadcast using the ancient technology that predated all modern communication systems. The most dramatic response came from the Altarian Federation. Their parliament voted unanimously to withdraw from the Galactic Council and declare alliance with humanity. Within hours, similar votes were taking place on other worlds, but the Council's core members were not ready to give up their power. The Zephyrian Chancellor sent a message to every human ship in space, his voice filled with cold rage. You have made a terrible mistake, he said. You think you can challenge an authority that has maintained galactic peace for 10,000 years? You are wrong. Return to your exile immediately, or we will activate the dark matter protocol and destroy every human world, including Earth itself. Captain Jake Morrison received this message while his ship was docked at Alteris Prime, taking on supplies and alien refugees who wanted to join humanity's cause. He read the threat twice, then sent his own response on all galactic frequencies. Chancellor, he said, his voice calm but deadly serious. You seem to have forgotten something important about humans. We don't respond well to threats. In fact, they tend to make us angry, and you really don't want to see what humans do when we're angry. Jake looked out at the growing fleet of human and allied ships gathering around Alteris Prime. In just 2 weeks, Operation Homecoming had become something much bigger than a rescue mission. It had become a revolution. You want to activate your dark matter protocol? Jake continued. Go ahead. But understand this, we're not the same species you exiled 8 months ago. We're stronger now, smarter, and a lot less patient with bullies. If you want a war, we'll give you one. But don't expect it to be the kind of war you're used to fighting. As Jake ended his transmission, he looked at the display showing human ships spread across dozens of star systems. The exile was over. The real fight was just beginning. The dark matter protocol activated at exactly 800 hours. Galactic Standard Time. Dr. Lisa Carter felt it before any of her instruments could detect it, a wrongness in space itself that made her teeth ache and her vision blur. She was in the modified laboratory aboard the Earth's Fury, surrounded by technology that combined human innovation with the ancient artifacts from Titan. Lisa, we're detecting massive energy spikes from 17 different locations, reported Dr. Kevin Brooks from his station. The readings are off the charts. Whatever the Council is doing, it's bigger than anything we've seen before. Lisa stared at the holographic display showing dark matter concentrations building around key human colonies. The Council wasn't bluffing. They really were preparing to destroy entire star systems to stop humanity's rebellion. How long do we have? She asked. Based on the energy buildup rate, maybe 6 hours before the first systems start collapsing, Kevin replied, his voice tight with worry. Lisa took a deep breath. They had prepared for this possibility, but hoping for something and facing it were very different things. Activate the neural interface protocols. All of them. Kevin looked at her with alarm. Lisa, that's insane. No human has ever tried to interface with this much ancient technology at once. The neural feedback could kill you. Then we better hope human brains are tougher than alien ones, Lisa said, sitting down in the chair they had built specially for this moment. Because if we don't crack the Council's network in the next 5 hours, there won't be any humans left to worry about neural feedback. 3 star systems away, Commander Alex Turner was leading the largest space battle in human history. His fleet of 70 human ships faced off against 300 Council vessels near the Centauri system. The odds should have been impossible, but the alien commanders had made a critical mistake. They were fighting like they always had, with careful formations and predictable tactics. All ships execute Plan Delta, Alex commanded over the communication network. Remember, they can't adapt as fast as we can. Keep them guessing. The human ships scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that would have killed alien crews from the acceleration forces alone. Human pilots could handle 9 times Earth's gravity for short periods, while most aliens passed out at 4 times their homeworld's gravity. Alex's flagship, the Defiant, dove straight toward the Council fleet's command ship, a massive Zephyrian dreadnought that was 3 times larger than any human vessel. The alien ship's weapons tracked the Defiant, but Alex's pilot, Lieutenant Sarah Martinez, was flying in a corkscrew pattern that made targeting nearly impossible. Sarah, can you get us close enough for a torpedo run? Alex asked. Already on it, Commander, Sarah replied, pulling the ship through a turn that made the gravity compensators scream in protest. 30 seconds to firing range. Around them, the space battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships moved like deadly dancers, striking fast and disappearing before the aliens could respond. When alien ships tried to pursue, they found themselves flying into carefully planned ambushes where human vessels appeared from multiple directions at once. Captain Sam Rodriguez, Alex's chief engineer, had been right about the differences between human and alien ships. Where alien vessels relied on shields and defensive systems, human ships absorbed damage and kept fighting. Several human ships had lost half their armor and were still engaging enemy targets. Commander, reported Lieutenant Tony Garcia from the tactical station, we're getting reports from our other battle groups. The aliens are pulling ships away from the dark matter installations to reinforce their fleets. Alex smiled. That was exactly what they had hoped would happen. How many installations are now lightly defended? At least 5, maybe 6, Tony replied. Captain Morrison's infiltration teams should be able to reach them. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was already inside one of those installations, moving through corridors that had been designed for species much taller than humans. His team of 12 soldiers followed behind him, their weapons ready and their faces grim with determination. Contact ahead, whispered Sergeant Mike Davis, who had insisted on joining the mission despite having just been rescued from Kepler-7. 4 Zephyrian guards. Standard patrol pattern. Jake nodded and signaled for his team to spread out. The Council guards were expecting attacks from space, not from human soldiers who had somehow gotten inside their most secure facility. The battle was over in seconds. Zephyrian soldiers were trained for ceremonial duties and crowd control, not for fighting against humans who had learned warfare in the harsh conditions of Earth's gravity and climate. Installation secured, Jake reported over his communicator. Beginning shutdown procedures now. But as his team worked to disable the dark matter manipulators, Jake received a message that changed everything. The Council wasn't just targeting human colonies anymore. They were preparing to collapse Earth's sun itself. All teams, this is Priority Alpha, came Commander Turner's voice over the comm. The Council has activated the final protocol. They're going to destroy Sol. Repeat, they are targeting our home system for complete annihilation. Back in her laboratory, Dr. Lisa Carter screamed as the neural interface flooded her mind with information from across the galaxy. She could feel the dark matter network like a web of poison stretching between the stars, but she could also feel something else. The presence of the ancient builders who had created the original technology. Lisa, your neural activity is reaching dangerous levels, Dr. Brooks warned from somewhere that seemed very far away. Lisa forced herself to focus through the pain. The ancient builders had left more than just ruins on Titan. They had left a way to turn their own technology against those who had stolen it. Kevin, she gasped, activate the Titan archives. Full broadcast mode. Send everything. That will expose our location to every council ship in the galaxy, Kevin protested. Do it, Lisa ordered. Trust me. The transmission that followed lasted only 3 minutes, but it changed the balance of power in the entire galaxy. The ancient archives didn't just contain history. They contained override codes for every piece of technology the Council had built using stolen knowledge. Across 17 star systems, dark matter installations suddenly shut down. Council ships found their weapons powered down and their shields failing. Even the massive orbital platforms defending the Council's homeworlds went silent. But the most dramatic effect was on the Council's member species themselves. For the first time in 10,000 years, they heard the true voice of the ancient builders, speaking directly through their own communication networks. The voice was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It was the voice of a species that had traveled between galaxies before the current civilizations had even evolved. Children of the galaxy, the voice said, we are the architects, the first to walk between the stars in this region of space. We left these archives not as a gift, but as a test. Only a species capable of true compassion and courage would be able to activate them. The transmission showed images of the 6 civilizations that the Council had destroyed, their histories and achievements preserved in the Titan archives, but it also showed something else, the true purpose of the galactic community. We built the jump gates and the communication networks to bring species together in peace, the voice continued. We did not build them so that a few could rule over many. The Galactic Council has failed the test of leadership. They have chosen fear over hope, control over freedom. President Maria Rodriguez received the transmission while standing in the command center beneath the Colorado mountains. Around her, military officers and government officials watched in amazement as the truth about galactic history unfolded before them. Madam President, said General Robert Hayes, we're getting reports from across the galaxy. 17 different species have declared independence from the Council. The Zephyrian Empire is in civil war. Even some of the Council species are asking to negotiate with us. Maria nodded, but her attention was focused on a smaller display that showed the Sol system. Despite the shutdown of most Council installations, one dark matter manipulator was still active, the one pointed directly at Earth's sun. General, she said quietly. How long before that thing destroys our sun? Robert checked his instruments. At current power levels, maybe 2 hours. Maria picked up her communicator and sent a message to every human ship in the galaxy. All vessels, this is President Rodriguez. Our sun is under direct threat. I don't care what you're doing or where you are, come home. Earth needs you now. Captain Jake Morrison received that message while his team was still fighting their way through the Council installation. He looked at his soldiers, all of whom had heard the transmission. You heard the President, he said. Time to go home. But Sergeant Davis stepped forward. With respect, Captain, we're not done here. This installation is still active, and it's one of the ones targeting Earth. Jake looked around at his team. Every face showed the same determination. They were scared, but they weren't leaving. All right, Jake said. Let's finish this. For Earth. As his soldiers resumed their assault on the installation's control center, Jake thought about Dr. Carter and Commander Turner, and all the other humans fighting across the galaxy. 1 year after the battle for Sol, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the same chamber where he had once received humanity's exile sentence. But everything was different now. The massive circular room had been redesigned with smaller chairs arranged in groups instead of the towering thrones that had once looked down on those below. Sunlight streamed through new windows that showed the blue and green world of New Geneva, the galaxy's new capital. Jake wore a simple uniform without the elaborate decorations that alien officials had always favored. Beside him stood representatives from 43 different species, including several who had once been part of the old Galactic Council. They were all here for the same reason, to witness the signing of the Freedom Charter, the document that would govern the new galactic community. Dr. Lisa Carter sat at a desk near the center of the room, her hair now completely white from the neural stress she had endured during the final battle, but her hands were steady as she prepared to sign the document that she had helped to write. The charter was based on simple principles that humans had learned the hard way. No one species could rule over others. Freedom was a right that belonged to everyone, and strength should be used to protect the weak, not control them. Before we begin, Jake said to the assembled delegates, I want to remember those who died to make this moment possible. The room fell silent. On the wall behind Jake, holographic images appeared showing the faces of humans and aliens who had given their lives in the fight against the Council's tyranny. Commander Alex Turner was there, along with Lieutenant Sarah Martinez and dozens of other soldiers who had died in the space battles. But there were also Altarian pilots, Centauri Marines, and rebels from a dozen different worlds who had joined humanity's cause. They died so that no child of any species would ever again live in fear of those who claimed the right to rule them. Jake continued, We honor them by building something worthy of their sacrifice. Dr. Carter stood up and walked to the signing table. As the chief architect of humanity's technological revolution, she had been chosen to sign first. But before she put pen to paper, she spoke to the gathered delegates. 12 months ago, humanity was called too violent to remain part of galactic civilization, she said. We were told that our emotions and quick decisions made us dangerous. Today I want to explain why those same qualities make us the right species to help lead this new community. She gestured toward the windows that showed ships from dozens of worlds moving peacefully through New Geneva's orbital space. We are emotional because we care about others, not just ourselves. We make quick decisions because sometimes waiting means letting innocent people suffer. We fight not because we love violence, but because we refuse to let bullies go unchallenged. Lisa picked up the pen and signed her name with a flourish. Today we prove that being human doesn't mean being perfect. It means being willing to stand up for what is right, even when it's difficult. The signing ceremony continued for 2 hours as each species added their agreement to the charter. Some of the former council members looked uncomfortable, but they signed anyway. They had learned the hard way that the galaxy's new leaders were not interested in revenge, only in justice. When the ceremony was over, Jake walked outside onto a balcony that overlooked New Geneva's capital city. The buildings below were a mixture of architectural styles from across the galaxy, but they all shared certain features: open spaces, natural light, and designs that welcomed visitors rather than intimidating them. President Maria Rodriguez joined him on the balcony. She had been elected as the first president of the Galactic Federation, not because she was human, but because she had proven that she could bring different species together without trying to control them. It's beautiful, Maria said, looking out at the city, but do you think it will last? Jake considered the question carefully. In the distance, he could see construction crews working on new buildings. Half the workers were human, but the other half were from a dozen different alien species. They seemed to be getting along well, sharing tools and solving problems together. It will last as long as we remember the lessons we learned during the exile, Jake said finally. Power corrupts when people forget that it's supposed to serve others, not rule them. As long as we stay humble and keep helping those who need it, this new galaxy will work. Maria nodded. She had been thinking about the same thing. The old Galactic Council had started with good intentions, but over thousands of years, they had gradually become more interested in maintaining their authority than serving their people. The charter includes term limits for all leadership positions, she said. No one can hold power for more than 6 years, and every decision has to be approved by representatives from at least half the member species. Good, Jake replied. But the most important safeguard isn't in any document. It's in the people we choose to lead us. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place on hundreds of worlds. The transition from the old system to the new one had not been easy, but it had been surprisingly peaceful. Most species had discovered that they liked making their own decisions instead of following orders from distant council worlds. On Earth, Commander Alex Turner's memorial had become a gathering place for people from all over the galaxy. The inscription on the monument was simple but powerful. He fought not for conquest, but for the right of all beings to live free from fear. Dr. Kevin Brooks, who had taken over Lisa's old laboratory, often brought visitors to see the monument. Many of them were young aliens who wanted to understand how humanity had managed to defeat the seemingly impossible odds they had faced during the exile. The secret wasn't our technology or our weapons, Kevin would tell them. It was our willingness to work together and never give up, even when everything seemed hopeless. The ancient technology from Titan had been shared freely with all member species of the new Federation. But more importantly, the lessons learned from studying it had led to discoveries that benefited everyone. Medical advances that worked for multiple species, new forms of faster-than-light travel, and communication systems that could translate not just languages but cultural concepts. Pete Walker, the engineer who had first discovered the Titan ruins, now led a team of archaeologists and scientists from 17 different species. They had found similar ruins on 12 other worlds, each one containing pieces of the puzzle left behind by the ancient architects. They knew this would happen, Pete often said during his lectures at the new Galactic University. They knew that eventually, someone would have to stand up to tyranny and restore the original purpose of the galactic community. They just didn't know it would be humans who did it. Captain Sam Rodriguez, who had designed humanity's new warships, had been put in charge of the Federation Defense Force. But the new military was very different from the old Council's forces. Instead of being used to enforce the will of those in power, the Defense Force existed only to protect member worlds from pirates, criminals, and external threats. We don't fight to conquer, Sam would tell new recruits from dozens of different species. We fight to protect, and we protect not just our own people, but anyone who asks for our help. The Zephyrian Empire, which had been the most powerful member of the old council, had undergone the most dramatic changes. Their new government was elected by the people instead of inherited by royal families. Chancellor Vex Thornton, the former military leader who had opposed the council's decision to exile humanity, had become their first elected leader. Humans taught us that strength without compassion is not strength at all, he said during his inauguration speech. It is weakness disguised as power. True strength comes from helping others, not controlling them. Not everything was perfect in the new galaxy. There were still conflicts between some species, criminal organizations that tried to take advantage of the transition period, and remote worlds that refused to join the Federation. But these problems were handled differently now. Instead of using force as the first option, the Federation tried diplomacy, economic incentives, and patient negotiation. When force was necessary, it was used carefully and with the consent of multiple species. No single world or leader could declare war or launch military operations without approval from the Federation Council. As Jake Morrison walked back into the government building on New Geneva, he passed a group of children from 6 different species playing together in a courtyard. They were laughing and running around without any fear or suspicion of each other. Their parents, representing cultures that had been enemies for centuries, sat nearby talking and sharing food. That evening, Jake sent a message to every human colony in the galaxy. It was the anniversary of their exile, and he wanted to remind people of how far they had come. 1 year ago, we were told to go home and stay there, his message began. Today, the entire galaxy is our home, and we share it with friends who would have been strangers if we had listened to those who tried to silence us. He paused and looked out at the stars visible through his office window. We didn't just win a war. We won the right to dream of a better future, and now we have the responsibility to build that future, not just for ourselves, but for every being who believes that freedom is worth fighting for.